to motivate your horse is our topic for today. So I want you to join me to find out the one thing that motivates our horses. We get a lot of riders who wonder how to motivate their horse. They want more motivation, maybe more energy, more movement, more cooperation, more calmness, more fill in the blank. But what they don't fully grasp is what motivation is. So this is what we're going to talk about today, what motivation really is, and the one thing that horses need to be motivated in whatever they do. So I was teaching a clinic many years ago. It was to a group of 4-H kids. They were aged probably 6 to 10. I asked them, why do you want to be with your horse? And these are the answers I got back for them. I love my horse. He smells good. It's fun. I can ride him. I can jump. And then I asked them, why does your horse want to be with you? And I got complete silence. None of the kids could have an answer. And then one girl piped up and she said, my horse likes it when I feed carrots. So then I went on to tell them what the one thing was that motivates their horses. The one thing that motivates horses is comfort. And so then I asked them, did they think that their horse was comfortable around them? And again, I got silence. And they didn't know how to answer that question. So if your horse believes that what is in front of them, whether it's you or a scary puddle or anything else, is that thing or you is going to push him or her out of their comfort zone too much, they won't do it. And they won't do it willingly. And they won't be motivated to do it. They won't want to participate. And they won't have a willingness behind it. So finding out what our horse specifically finds comfortable and comforting is crucial. And notice how I used those two words, comfortable and comforting. And this is what we help our students in our program with, being comfortable and being comforting. And a lot of riders think that they know about this and that they know what comfort is. But here we're going to dig really deep in what comfort is for your horse. So I want you to get out your piece of paper and your pen or your notepad or whatever to take notes. Because if you don't understand this, and that comfort is the motivation of horses, then you will have difficulty and you will have frustration. I said comfortable and comforting, didn't I? So we want situations that are comfortable, and we want to be, as a rider or as a person with our horse, we want to be comforting. So now let's break down comfort into two categories. So the first category I want to talk about is the physical. We're going to break down this into physical and emotion. With regards to the physical, if you're expecting your horse to do something that's out of their comfort zone physically, they won't be motivated to do it, right? Why should they be? But if you can help them find a way to move for their body that's efficient and it's effective and it feels good, that's the best possible way physically to give them comfort, isn't it? When you're leading them constantly to that place of comfort with their movement, with their bodies, then you're taking them away from discomfort. If you're leading them, on the contrary, to a place where they're always feeling uncomfortable in their bodies, then they won't be motivated to do more for you. They won't want to do that task that's uncomfortable, that's hard, that causes them pain perhaps, they're not well enough prepared for. If your horse is standing around in the pasture, for example, the sternum is dropped and they're on the forehand, and they maybe have sore feet, their hind end isn't being used, and their body is not being used as a unit perhaps, And then you come to ask to work with your horse, to sit on their back, whatever your task you're doing, whether you're going trail riding, whether you're doing dressage, whether you're doing jumping, they're not going to be motivated to do that, are they? Now, this is where we want the situation to be comfortable. Remember, I talked about earlier that we want it to be comfortable and we want to be comforting. This is where we want the situation to be comfortable. We want their bodies to be comfortable in themselves when they move. Let's go on to emotion. Now, that's the second area that I want to talk about is emotion. Fear comes into this greatly. Sometimes we are asking our horses to take a leap of faith, aren't we? Sometimes we have to take a leap of faith with our horses. What that does, it puts us out of our comfort zone. And we don't want to be out of our comfort zone, right? As people, as riders, we don't want that. And neither do our horses. They don't want to willingly go out of their comfort zone, right? They don't want to be in a place that's tremendously uncomfortable. With the fear of emotion and revolving around comfort, we don't want to go out of our comfort zone. It's something that we resist and our horses resist. So how do we manage that? Well, what we need to do is borrow somebody else's confidence. We need to borrow confidence from someone else so that we can find comfort there. So our horses need to borrow our confidence as riders, or someone in doing in hand with our horses. They want to borrow our confidence in order for them to then have self-confidence. So if there's a spooky situation, if they're fearful about a puddle or about a noise or about a flock of geese all of a sudden flying out of a lake and causing a great ruckus, they're fearful about what's happening around them. They want a partner who they can borrow confidence from, so that they can get through that situation. They can lean on you and they can find confidence from you. And then they can find their own self-confidence. And this is where we need to be comforting. This is where we need to comfort the horse and be comforting to them. There have been many times in my life, and put a note for me below if you can think of a time in your life when you have been fearful and not been able to make a choice because you were so fearful. You didn't want to get out of your comfort zone, so you chose not to make the choice that you know that deep down you needed to do. You needed to make that choice. It was just too scary, so you decided to back away and not make the choice to go forward, even though you knew deep down that that's what you needed to do. That's exactly what our horses are feeling, right? And this is sometimes why they're not motivated. It's because they're not motivated to come out of their comfort zone. It's too scary. It's too unknown. It's not familiar enough to them. They need you to lean on. They need your confidence to lean on. And this is where they need to be held. And they need to be held as you would want to be held in a scary situation. All right, so that's fear. The other one is boredom. Have you ever been bored and felt comfortable? Horses are naturally curious beings. They love to play, investigate things. They are curious. When they are bored, they're not comfortable. For example, you're asking your horse something, and your horse gives an answer back. Like, can you go over this cavaletti? And your horse gives the answer back. Yes, I can go over the cavaletti. Look, here, I can go over it, and look at me how I do this. If you keep asking the horse to do the same thing over and over, that will create boredom. They're going to shut off. That will decrease motivation in your horse. If you want your horse to be motivated, you can't be boring. And this is where we want to be comforting in a way that we want to understand when our horse is being bored. So now we want to look at solutions for this, all right? So I've given you what motivation really is. And so what are the solutions? Because we've all come across what I've described, haven't we? So now what are the solutions to this? So number one is get yourself educated on how you move and how your horse moves. Knowing how your horse's body moves, knowing how your body moves, finding out the patterns, finding out the blocks, finding the stuck places, and then tending to that physically. Remember, because one of the motivators is physical. When you tend to the physical in that way, you can get yourself comfortable and you can get your horse comfortable. And that's a solution for the physical motivation, isn't it? The second one is to conquer your fears. And we talk a lot about this in our program, as well as the physical that I just described to you. If you get a chance to work with us in our program, and if this is resonating with you, you'll find a link somewhere around this video. You can click on that link and go to there and book a call with us, and we'll find out how we can help you with your horse and yourself. So conquering your fears, resolving old traumas that are there that are also blocking you and holding you back. When you release, when you process unresolved emotions, when you process your negative emotions, when you process all of the stuff, right, mindset wise, that's holding you back, that's when you can be comforting to your horse, right? So your horse is not going to feed off your fears. You are not going to feed off your horse's fears because you've got it figured out, right? And because you're comfortable in who you are, then, and you've done all this processing and the work, then you're comfortable and then you're confident. And then you can be confident with your horse. Because if you're comfortable, then you can then be comforting. If you're not comfortable, you can't be comforting. It's just not possible. Then there's inspiration, right? Be an inspiration to your horse. This is number 3. We had educate yourself, conquer your fears, educate yourself around your movement and your horse's movement, conquer your fears, and be an inspiration. Okay, so be an inspiration has to be for each individual horse, and it's specific to each horse. Now, I want to talk about boredom a little bit here, because boredom is a tricky one, right? As we're learning, sometimes we repeat things a lot, right? Sometimes we miss the most opportune time. Sometimes we miss our timing because we can't recognize what's happening. That's totally okay. Our horses are so forgiving on this front. And the repetition might be something you need to do at that point in time for you to be able to master a certain technique or a skill with your horse. We need to master techniques and skills to be with our horses and be effective, don't we? We do that in our program as well, right? There's lots of techniques and skills. But this is where it gets a little bit tricky, right? Because your horse can tend to shut off. If it's done too much, they're like, oh, not that again, not this again. And they can tend to shut off. But this is where you can add the spice of life, right? Add the variety, and that would be the solution. That's how you become an inspiration, is you add the variety. You become the spice of life for your horse. And it has to be specific to your horse. You can do different tasks at liberty, perhaps. You can go to different locations to be inspirational to your horse. You can do different challenges in hand that challenges your horse. Now we have to talk about the different types of comfort. These types of comfort that I'm going to tell you about here, and write them down. Get a piece of paper and pen out and write these down, because you're going to want to refer back to them. A horse can have one of them. A horse can have several. A horse can have all of them. As I describe these different types of comfort to you, I want you to think of a horse in your life that fits a particular style of comfort that I talk about. And this is going to help you to find who your horse really is. All right, number 1 is fun. Fun is a huge type of comfort that horses absolutely love. I used to have a Andalusian gelding who his whole life revolved around games, around having fun. So what did I do with him? I did lots of liberty. I taught him to lie down with me beside him. I taught him to stand up. I taught him so I could mount on him while he was lying down. He thought he got a great kick out of these things because he was able to participate, right? And pretty soon he would go and lie down for me and ask me to get on his back. So he wanted to show off. He wanted to play in this way. And then he became very proud because he was able to make a choice. And that's what motivated him. The next one is food. Some horses get extreme comfort from food. In fact, I will never forget when I bought, this was in 1998, something like that. I bought a horse for our daughters. And she was a quarter horse, and she had been through everything, and she was like the horse who had done it all by the age of 5 and was actually turned off and just kind of being comfortable in just doing what she was told to do. But for a kid's horse, where she was, and she wasn't very motivated but by anything else but food, she was a great horse for kids. So that's a tip for you. If you want a kid's horse, get one that's motivated by food. I have another horse right now, ZJ. Food is not an interest for her at all. She does not get comfort from food. I mean, other than sustaining herself, right? But treats or things like that, it's not interesting for her. So if your horse finds comfort from food, then you can get creative and put surprise treats here and there, or use clicker training. It's a great way to help horses who are really motivated by food. You need to know what you're doing there with that, though. That's something you could do. All right, the next one is friends. Is your horse getting comfort from friends as a major comfort for them? And how you can find out this is if you have your horses together, like I have a herd of 11 horses out there. You'll notice some horses that like to be in groups. Some horses like to be off on their own. Some horses like to be off on their own sometimes, but be in the group other times. Notice which horses that you can notice in a herd situation that absolutely love to be with friends. And so if you have a horse that is really finding comfort from other horse friends, that's when you can do activities with friends sometimes. Not all the time, but to keep their motivation up, do activities with friends. And they don't have to be right with you. They can be across the fence, or they can be, in another paddock over there. But sometimes do it with friends, sometimes not with friends, so it doesn't become a habit. The next one is movement. Some horses are extremely movement oriented and they love to move their bodies. And you can just tell by the way they do things. They absolutely love to express themselves by movement. They get comfort from moving. And ZJ is a horse in my herd who is that way. So ZJ is a horse who absolutely loves to move. She's a beautiful mover, by the way. She's very capable, very athletic. But for her comfort is in moving. She can stand still, and she does, of course. But where she's really joyous is when she's moving, and when she's moving with me. That's what she loves the most. So this is where you might do liberty again, for variety, not just dressage all the time, but maybe do some liberty. Help her to express herself at liberty. Show her that she can have some choices, because at liberty, your horse does have a choice. And this is what we do in my program, a multidisciplinary program where you can learn about yourself, mindset, your horse's mindset, your movement, your horse's movement, and experimenting and having fun with liberty or in hand. So the last one I want to mention here is bond and relationship. Okay, so this is where your horse gets comfort from bonding or relationships. This is where a horse really wants to please, right? They absolutely want to make you happy above anything else. And this so much reminds me of Morgan Mare that I have, who's now over 30 years old. And that was her. She absolutely loved to please me. She would do anything to please me. She loved to have a bond, to build a bond. She loved to make me happy. What might you do for a horse that loves to please us? Lots of grooming every day. Tell your horse that she's absolutely wonderful, right? When she pleases you, compliment her. Tell her she's wonderful for pleasing you, right? She's not food driven, right? But she is driven by praise and patting and telling her that she did a good job. And then she feels really comfortable and she looks for that. When your partnership becomes stronger and stronger, as you learn more and more about who your horse is, what comfort they like, then you can provide them with those situations and those actions from yourself. And when that bond starts to get stronger and stronger, that's when you'll notice that all of these details start to meld together, right? And you can't distinguish one from the other. It's when it just all becomes oneness with your horse. It's where you have complete joy, you have complete freedom. Your partnership is all about conversation. What do you like? What do I like? And it becomes such a healthy and juicy and nutritious partnership. But we need to focus a little bit on these details at first. But this is where we're going to. So when I taught those 4-H students this clinic that I taught many years ago, and I asked them, oh, why do you want to be with your horse? And some of them says, oh, I love him, or he smells good, or I can go jumping. You know what they really weren't saying, and this is what we do in my program, is we not only find what you are saying, but we find what you are not saying. We not only look at what your horse is saying, but we look at what your horse is not saying. What those kids on that clinic day were really saying is that they want to be with their horses for freedom and for relationship. Isn't that why we get into horses in the first place? Is we want to have freedom, we want to have relationship, and we want to do things together. And when I asked them, why does your horse want to be with you? And there was complete silence. And then one little girl piped up and said, my horse wants to be with me because she likes it when I feed her carrots. What she really wasn't saying, and what she didn't say on that day, was my horse is finding comfort in food, and I am confident. And then we are one, we have freedom, and we have freedom in space, we have freedom in movement, and we have freedom of choice. That's what that little girl of 5 years or 6 or 7, whatever she was really saying. So if you'd like support in any of these areas, just click on the link somewhere around this video, and that will take you to a schedule page where you can book a call with us or someone on my team or myself, where we can actually find out how to help you with these things, help you to find out what your horse is all about, who your horse is, and how you can be the best that you can possibly be for your horse. And if you want to get notified when I go live, please press the bell icon. So thank you so much for being here. It's great to have you. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.